I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're diving into the mesmerizing world of art and history with Pamela De Fina. She's written a terrific book. It is called Divine Discoveries in History and the Arts. Today, we're going to explore how groundbreaking research in classical art forms connect humanity to a grander universe. We will share insights on how music and dance evolved through historical geniuses, through people like Michelangelo and Da Vinci. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Books to Life Marketing for helping us put her in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her wonderful book. The links are below this interview. Pam, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It's a real honor.
The honor is mine.
It's
Loved
great.
your book. Let me ask you, how did your studies in Italy influence your perception of Renaissance art and its creators?
Well, by studying, the art firsthand, that it just the harmony and the beauty and the balance of the painting, you were immediately, drawn into the scene. And it became like a moving force for me in my life, my life's passion, because they created the most beautiful art, I think, in the universe. And because it is a, it's balance, it's harmony, and it's at one with the greater universe. It's the microcosm and the macrocosm is becomes one. And it's they created the period called the humanitas, the most humane period in the history of the world, where man was in balance with the greater universe, God, and those around him. And it shows forth in the paintings. And so it completely transformed me.
Yeah.
And the reason I went into the dance afterwards, I was working in the art world, but I always danced because I grew up in the ballet here in Palm Beach, Florida, at Imperial Studios with the director was Joanna Nealand. So we did a lot of performances at the Poinciana Playhouse and great ballerinas. She was an extraordinary person. And I didn't go in to choose dance as a main career. It was I got an elementary school, a license first to teach. And later I found Maria Theresa just by looking, for the dance of Isadora Duncan, because I knew that she also originated from great works of art, Greek, Roman, and Renaissance. So that's when I stumbled upon her by 2 years of searching. And so we had this immediate bond. It was, a spiritual bond of a soulmate. It was very, very special. So she chose me because she knew I studied the great works of art in Florence, and which they had as well growing up in Europe. So that's how I studied privately with her a long time. I mean, I performed as well. She was older, but I did perform right away as her protege at the United Nations in 1979. Then after that, many other things, teaching at the Sorbonne, Santa Barbara City College abroad program, the House of the Redeemer in New York, different places. And she was just amazing, to be in the company of, because she understood the musical composers in such a deep way. She was in her day known as the greatest solo musical dramatist. And her husband was Stephen Bourgeois, who was in the autobiography of Marcel Duchamp, and he was a musician, a music pianist, as well as had great art galleries in Europe and in New York, the first one in New York showing Marcel Duchamp. And so, it was a wonderful blessing that I had with her almost 10 years. And so I tried, carry on her message and what I had learned from her. And now I'm extremely, appreciative. I realized, it was a very spiritual. She said the dances are religious, but we don't talk about them. They didn't talk, but they really are. So, but they originated from works of art. So you have to have an idea and understand the paintings of the Renaissance and the positions of the body, and to be able to do it, the way that certainly Isadora and she intended it to be done.
Yeah, amazing.
So, and then the music.
What's
Yes.
that?
No, and then the music was another addition that I hadn't gone into depth before. I mean, I always was inspired by the music in ballet as a child, but I didn't understand, the message, the story, and why the composer created certain pieces and what they meant, and there's a whole story to the composition of classical music, the composers.
Absolutely. And all of this learning, all of this knowledge, all of these travels have culminated in your book. Give the folks at home an overview of what Divine Discoveries in History and the Arts is all about.
Well, before I embarked on an adventure where I felt that I was meant to go there, an intuitive, because I would pray a lot. I prayed a lot, and I asked the Lord where He's calling me to be. So that's how I went to these places, and things happened there. For instance, well, first of all, in Florence, it started all started in Florence, and see, I couldn't finish the program because there was I won't go into it, but there was a political situation now, and they were holding up the American students' money at the bank. And so I couldn't finish it, but I still, benefited from it enormously. And so that's when I moved to New York and met Teresa, and I was in the art world as well. And I'm going to the Metropolitan Museum of Art all the time with her, and researching and looking at the the great paintings there at the Met. And then we would go to the studio and practice all the time. And so then after that, as she died, I just intuitively went again to Versailles. And this was another extraordinary revelation and discovery. And, first I looked at the gardens and I said, oh my God, anybody could be healed of any kind of infirmity or illness just being here, because it is a picture of a perfect balance. It's built in harmony with the solar reflections of the sun. And so I taught dance in Paris, and I used to bring the students to Versailles the Gardens, and I lectured and I published, and that's when I published an article and then a book on Maria Theresa over there. So I did quite a bit. It was very creative period. And then I was doing genealogical studies on her name in the ancient, beautiful texts, that go way back in history. And so I found a very interesting, discovery, going back to the year 800, and to 800 to 1200, there was a race, the Delfino race, which on the crest there is a dolphin. I mean, it's a specific color, it's registered in Riebstad. I found someone guided me, the Conseil Delphinal. They guided me and found it registered. So this is how I found out the origins of it and what it meant. You know, it was an ancient Christian symbol of culture. And there's a big history behind it. And it first originated in Delphi in Greece. And then it moved over, you know, to Western Europe. And so I, you know, I found out other parallels, you know, between what my father was doing in the military, the government, and the finance in New York, and someone that lived 1,000 years ago did the exact same thing, Umberto Delfino. I mean, you can't say it's the same, but it's just an enormous, you know, synchronicity. And it just led me to certain places over there where I met someone, a priest, and had an extremely deepening, you know, experience from my heart in with the religion, and it just was a amazing journey. And everywhere I went, you know, whether it was Versailles, Florence, New York, Savoie, up in the Alps, I lived up there too. There were these divine discoveries, you know, that I made that became both personal and collective. And there's really a lot to them. It's hard to go through all
that's why you wrote the book and put it all down there. We're glad you had these travels, you had these studies, you had these revelations, which is wonderful. And now Pamela De Fina has put them down in a book for you that you will just love. It's a beautiful book. It is called Divine Discoveries in History and the Arts. It shares groundbreaking research about classical art forms and how they connect humanity to a grander universe. You'll also learn about music and dance and how it evolved through historical geniuses like Michelangelo and Da Vinci. Pamela, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Oh, thank you. It was great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
The pleasure's been all mine. I really enjoyed your insights. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
You.